Welcome to Jill on Money, powered by The Compound. I am Jill Schlesinger. I am joined today by not the one, the onlys, Michael Batnick, Josh Brown, the OG Compound Boys. How are you, gents?
Hey, Jill. Doing great.
Can I tell you what happened this morning? It's a crazy story because you're wearing a Knicks shirt. We're talking, it's basketball season. We're all Knicks fans here.
Obsessed.
Okay, which you should be.
Yeah.
So today I'm on a call with CBS. We have an editorial call, 9 o'clock every morning. And there's right now, there's a little Caitlin Clark mania. This merges my two worlds. Okay. So I get it. And someone says, and the thing that's going crazy on social is a comparison between Caitlin Clark's salary in the WNBA versus someone else in the NBA of her stature, first pick, blah, blah, blah. And the numbers are off. So this is just someone reporting what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what's blowing up on social. Maybe we're going to do a graphic about it. Maybe we'll do something. And then a guy raises his hand. There's 150 people on this call. So it's like every single person in the organization who's doing editorial stuff and says, this is a ridiculous comparison. You know, the NBA is not the WNBA. We're talking about a league that's 27 years old versus one that's 80 years old. We're talking about one that generates, I don't know, $10 billion a year, probably. Yeah. Is that about right? And versus, you know, whatever the WNBA does.
As I say, the players get paid based on the demand for people watching
Jill,
them.
you're not about to get pinched, are you? Sharing the story?
No, okay. I'm going to be good. I'm good. And so, you know, we just have this whole conversation and he gets mad about this. He gets because I understand, like, you're not comparing apples to apples, but this starts a brouhaha.
Yeah.
At which point he says, but listen, when Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points, listen to this, he was making $90,000 a year.
In 1961.
Thank you in March of 1962. Right. So I'm walking my dogs. I'm listening to the call, walking my dogs. And I feel like I got to get ready to come to the studio and do the boys. And I said, excuse me, it's Jill Schlesinger. I just to be clear, $90,000 in 1962 is not $90,000
right.
today.
I think it's 900,000.
Thank you very much. 933,000.
Yeah.
And what does it have to do with anything?
So then, people were pissed about this whole conversation. There's stuff going on, and he gets pissed, and there's like a lot. And I'm just saying, this is the numbers. Like, if you want to say apples to apples, in 1962, if you're going to use that as my reference point, and the league was he goes, well, there were no TV contracts then. No one knew he scored 100 points. I'm like, okay, but still, it's revenue, right?
It's a free market, and she will become the highest paid women's basketball player, WNBA basketball player, because people really want to watch her play. She is incredible, and that's going to change the market, but it doesn't mean that those salaries will look anything like Steph Curry and LeBron's salary because there's just not as many people watching. It's as simple as that. Title IX is different. In colleges, the college can't spend more money on men versus women. That was important. But this isn't a college paying for it. This is the audience.
Exactly.
So that's why it's different.
So also, why is this important to you guys? Because I didn't get a chance to stop at my favorite bakery to get you something to eat. So I did bring cookies. I left them out there, but it's not as normally my good stuff.
Well,
Jill, I'm training for a race.
I heard about this.
So
tell me more.
I'm probably going to skip the cookies, or maybe I'll have like one when I used to have two.
Okay.
I actually trained this week.
And how is it?
Dude, I'm going to fucking bury it.
I did couch to 5K, I think is the app.
You know what this kid said to me last week?
What's that?
He doesn't think I can run a 5K.
3.2 miles.
Like finish. He goes, I don't think you could finish it.
I know you can't.
Wow.
Okay.
That is bold. Now, okay.
Wait. Quick pause. This is really...
There's no quick pause. We'll see. I'll see you on the tracks.
No, there is absolutely a quick pause.
I love the camaraderie. We're all in it together. Hands on our back. We're to help each other.
Well,
Remind me not to run with you guys.
Well, this time it's personal.
Okay.
All right. So, importantly, this is today. What does that say? 3.5.
Oh.
And that's a light jog first thing in the morning.
Okay.
That's today. Here's yesterday.
He's going to be fine.
Just for fun.
He's just trying to get you motivated.
Just for fun. Here's yesterday, 3.6.
Okay, good.
So this is something that I am doing on a regular basis.
Okay.
And I really look forward to doing it with you.
Okay.
Oh, that's sweet. You know what I do? I can't run anymore because I'm an old lady. I got bad hips.
There's going to be thousands of people there. Don't hide from me.
Oh, man. It's good. It's on.
Yeah.
Is there money on this?
He's already talking about his shin splints. He's showing up with a reason why he can't run.
Listen, I will do what I can do, and I won't do anything else.
All right, let's talk about what you can do. So, you know what I did just for fun to prep for this? Besides knowing you and falling in love with you, which is why I'm wearing this gay shirt, which is really for Pride Month, but it's not Pride Month, but it's really because I was like, this is how I feel about these two men.
We like the shirt.
And I have to say that there is no accounting for chemistry in life, right? Like you meet your spouse, something lights up for you. Maybe not for other people. Maybe it's a slow burn. I walked into the studio this first time I was on the air with you guys, which was 23.
Yeah.
Right. So it's actually just about a year ago, a little more than a year ago. And I fell in love with both of you.
Oh.
And part of the reason I fell in love with both of you is that I love what you do. I love how you do it. And I love your relationship. And so that, I think, is what I want to share with the broader audience. And they see you in certain ways. But so for fun, I just thought, wouldn't it be funny to go back and listen to like the episode, which was March 18th of 2020. Okay. So don't feel like this is anything.
The bottom. That's the bottom.
The start of that's the beginning.
No, it's the bottom of the market.
It's the bottom of the market.
Bottom of March 23rd.
It was also March 23rd but it was also, it was a meaningful moment because the world was on fire and it was scary and there was a lot of unknown.
Totally agree.
Right? And
wait, before you tell us what we said, where was this? Was this one of your thoughts, or was this?
This is an episode that was from your home in Long Island.
Okay.
So was it
definitely.
So it was you were at home. Okay. It wasn't like the numbered episodes yet because I went to the pilot episode. This is old
like
school.
YouTube.
So I hope
this is
like
when we just figured out how to do.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't know how to do the show.
And were we
remotely.
telling everyone that it'll be okay? Ish.
First of all, I want to compare you as the much better messaging units than, say, Jamie Dimon, who I agree with you, Michael, was ridiculous and negative and stupid. That was so unnecessary. What you said, a couple of things. Opportunities exist, that everything's going to come back. We are amid a financial and health crisis. These are direct quotes. I know this is an interesting time, and I wrote down positivity, and I underlined it because you guys both had a way of, in the middle of a storm that felt unknown and frightening, you had a way to say to people, okay, this is really weird. It's awful. We don't know what comes next. It's going to be okay. So my real question is, what made you so sure of that?
So sure of that. Well,
or able to say that.
I think one of the reasons why I think hopefully some of those quotes are mine, is I was on the phone with clients all day. I'm not a financial advisor. These are not my relationships, but sometimes the clients need to hear from the investment person. And I was given this speech a lot, and it was definitely not a don't worry speech. It was listen, we're all worried. I'm scared too. I think one of the, I hate to say luxury, it's a bad term for this, but one of the things about that particular financial crisis is that the health crisis superseded it. People were dying. And so there was much more fear about your family, your loved ones. Am I going to be okay? And so the second part of this, where did the conviction come from that we were going to come back? We've read a lot of market history, and this is what the market does. There have been panics in the past. And I think one of the things that we were saying, at least I was saying to clients, is listen, I don't know how this ends. I don't know when it ends. I don't know what it's going to look like from a year from now. But our job is to get you through this crisis, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And we did it.
And Josh, do you think it is obviously, you and I have been through other financial crises. Of course, none of us had been through a health crisis like this. From the financial part of it, did it feel familiar to you? Did you feel like this kind of action, that it evoked something in you?
I had 100+ clients on 9/11, and I was on the phone with them from a cell phone from New York City. So I had experience with catastrophic. The market didn't open for, I think, 9 days. And I would be talking to clients about the efforts to reopen stocks. Literally, this was what we were discussing. So in the pandemic, there were a couple of things I was keying off on, and Michael might remember this or might not, but I was also giving daily meetings to the entire staff of the firm. The first thing is the stock market had functioned perfectly. So did the bond market. Everything was running. This is the real miracle. The biggest companies on earth involved in trading and market making and bank clearing firms and custody firms and traditional banks sent all their employees home and nothing broke.
Mm-hmm.
We now look back at that as like it's a given. But if I had told you in 2019, the Fortune 500 would dismiss all of their in-person employees and there won't be a single hiccup in financial markets, you would have said bullshit. And that's literally what happened. And that's what separated it from 9/11. So that gave me a lot of hope. Even if people were selling with two hands, that's okay. There was a buyer there to take those stocks off their hands and the market didn't break. It truly is miraculous in hindsight when you think of it that way. So I leaned into that. It's like, hey, shit is not great, but things are functioning. That's one. Two, and maybe more important, to Michael's point, clients didn't really want to talk about the market. They wanted to tell us their stories about, oh, so-and-so, my sister-in-law was stuck in an airport and now she can't get back to America. Or I was supposed to be on a cruise ship next week and, I need to get a refund. That's the stuff they wanted to talk about. Everyone wanted to tell their COVID story. Costco is sold out of toilet paper. One thing after another.
Yep.
Okay. I think how weird the situation was, in a weird way, was beneficial because it took people's minds off the more mundane, kind of prosaic aspects of like the stock market for a minute.
Right, until they lost their jobs and they were like applying for unemployment insurance.
So those were the third type of conversations. We happen to have a lot of business owners as clients because we're a wealth management firm. And so there were a lot of conversations about what do we do as a business.
Yeah.
Okay. Because those were the more important conversations, there wasn't enough time to have a panic conversation because, to Michael's point, the market was bottoming it relatively quickly.
Yeah.
So had there not been as much stimulus as there was, and we had a 6-month bear market instead of a 12-day bear market, things might have turned out differently.
So I'm wondering I look at that period, I look back in time because that was when we went to a daily podcast and we've continued to do a daily podcast because everything was changing so quickly. It is also interesting how human nature can just, gloss over where you've come from. I have never felt like in my career, the strangest period of the last, if I look at the last 5 years, let's say, I don't feel like I've ever gone through anything like this where people have this delusional belief in what they have just gone through and where we are. So I know you guys have talked about that Wall Street Journal article, which was people basically think that inflation is still rising, that markets haven't gone up, their portfolios haven't done better, and they have no ability to go back. Maybe because we need what we really need is more very worried Jewish people who always go back to the worst possible point, revisit
Come to my town.
Yeah, exactly. We want to revisit that. But I do think it's fascinating to me that 4 years ago, we were worried about people dying and the markets were going crazy. 4 years later, we're like, it sucks that gas costs more money and what? Prices went up more than I expected.
Yeah.
I don't know what the alternative would have been. I think the alternative would have been that if the Fed had acted more appropriately and quicker, that inflation would not have spiked as much, but global inflation spiked.
Well, look, the supply chain thing gave way to something worse. If it were just a transitory thing related to the ports not being open and then it had passed, it would have been different. But that's not what happened. We had stimulus plans from 2 presidents.
But other countries did not have those same stimulus plans, and they still have inflation.
That's my point. Yeah. Biden came into office in January of 21, a full year after the pandemic had started, and almost 9 full months after the Fed and Treasury had enacted the biggest concerted effort in history to reliquefy everyone.
Here, fire, have some gasoline.
Yeah, Biden said, let's also do a $1.3 trillion infrastructure bill. And by the way, the Fed kept buying mortgages, fueling a home price bubble. And the stimulus just kept going long after the point it was needed. And a lot of it was for political reasons. And so, if people want to complain about that, they certainly are entitled to. But my answer to your question is talk to different people, because I get all the arguments about everything that's bad. But the reality is, if you have a college degree, the unemployment rate for you is sub 1.5%. Never in your whole life have you been in a job market like this, and you may never be in one again. If you're not happy now, I don't know what it's going to take to make you happy.
And to be clear, that financial markets have come roaring back, and people have just got an awesome lesson in why you don't try to pick tops and bottoms.
Oh, yeah.
And to some extent, I think that there's just this pervasive. So I'm getting back to my theme of have a more positive outlook, but there does seem to be a more pessimistic view of the universe that is expressing through social media that does take hold of younger generations. I'm the older one. I'm the elder in this room. So
it's bigger than
amazing.
It's bigger than financial markets.
Yeah.
It's political unrest. It's general anxiety. It's social media. Inflation is a big part of it. And it doesn't matter that the rate of price changes is lower now than it was. It doesn't matter. Prices are up 30% since 2019, and some are up a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not quite 30. But if you are a young person trying to get into a home, good fucking luck.
Yeah.
If you look at the data, you could say, listen, real wage gains are good. The stock market's good. Your net worth is good. But sometimes the data doesn't reflect how people feel. And I think I understand why people feel how they feel right now.
It's like that story. It's like everyone says, lawyers are the worst. CPAs are the worst. But mine's great. My doctor's great, but all doctors, they're terrible.
There's a lot of
They hate
that.
everybody.
They hate Congress, but my
guy's
gal
good.
is okay.
There's a lot of the world's going to hell, but I'm doing okay.
Yeah. But I think that there's something that is I don't know, there's something that is in this period of time that's fascinating, because if there isn't an appreciation for where it is, where the markets are today, or where the job market is, what happens in the next recession, the bad one?
I have maybe a different view on this. I think that those people that are not happy sort of want us to take the medicine. And I don't think they want to lose their jobs. I think it's a lot of delusion, but they think that we need a reset. And we need a recession to clear out they're not happy about the deficit. They're not happy about a lot of things. And so I think in a sick way, there would be a cohort in this country that would be happier if things weren't as prosperous as they are right now.
And they tend to be the most extremely online people. And it's magnifying. There aren't that many of those people. You just think they are because those are the people that never shut up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree with Michael. There's a nihilism about just the stock market recovery, the economic recovery. People don't even feel like money is real anymore. They're using it to gamble.
Yeah, the idea that there is inequality that exists is fascinating. I just interviewed this woman named Teresa Ghilarducci, which I just like saying her name. She's an economist, and she's done a lot of studying about retirement. And one of the things that she finds is that there's really kind of a two-tier retirement system. I think that we, as sort of a compound and associated podcast, we tend to talk to the tier of people who are thinking about retirement, who have money, have jobs, can put money away, and we're doing that. But there is something to be said that there are these other people who are having an incredibly difficult time, and maybe the pension plan that they would have had in another generation doesn't exist. Maybe they didn't put away enough money. Maybe they're being told, this is the part that I find very annoying when you have a politician who says, you know what we should do? We should make the retirement age for Social Security 78. Well, are you doing a physical job, lawmaker? I don't think you are.
Yeah. So they got the biggest COLA, I think, in history, or at least since the 1970s last year.
Yep.
So I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm saying there is some benefit for the people who are about to retire that are not working in office jobs and are doing something physical. The benefit of this environment that we're in is that those people have never been more in demand.
Yep.
Companies can't hire them fast enough, can't stop giving them raises, and can't stop worrying about losing them.
Yeah, and I think the fascinating wage gains of the bottom 10%, which now inflation adjusted, the bottom 10% inflation adjusted up 12%. Real wages up 12% in 4 years.
You know what I love about this? We had a 10-year period of 0% interest rates where you would have this you would have this knowledge class kind of people go sit on stage at Davos and pontificate on how many truck drivers are about to lose their jobs. And then we have this massive societal reset, and it turns out Meta can lay off 20,000 of these people at a time, but nobody would dare fire a truck driver right now.
Right.
So, like, the first people to get laid off are the Davos set, who've spent the last 10 years intellectually explaining why everyone else was worthless. Oh, no, actually, it turns out you're pretty worthless. And all of these other people who had just been barely getting by, now they're getting the biggest raises, and they're the most demand workers in the economy. And I fucking love that shit.
I know. Okay, let me go back to your pilot episode 1, June 4th, 2021. I listened to it again.
Who was the
I
guest?
think it was Sam Rowe.
It
might
was
have been Sam.
Packy.
Oh, Packy.
Oh, wow.
It was
Packy
Packy.
our first
Oh, wow.
guest.
And I just
So
want
toppy.
to. You ready? Are you ready for some of the things that you talked about that were very hot? Ethereum.
Wait, what was the date on this?
21.
June 4th, 2021.
June 4th.
21.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we still had 6 months left.
Yeah. So it's okay. Ethereum, NFTs, DeFi, blockchain.
What was I saying?
I'm not even going to go into this, but what's funny is that the reason why I bring this up is that two things. One is that you're talking about DAO, like, the decentralized autonomous organization and all this nonsense that we wasted too much breath. And I wish I could get my brain power back, that I had to learn about this and now unlearn it. The thing that made me smile was that, Mike, you were so happy about the Knicks. It doesn't even compare to where you are today.
I was so happy in 21.
Yeah, you were very happy in
'cause
21.
Julius was balling.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Exactly right. So, okay, so things can change. Things come in flavor, out of flavor. So I would like to know from you guys. People listen to you, they feel like they know you. You know that. It's weird. You have super fans, right?
Shout out to the fans, yo.
Shout out to the fans. Michael, what is something that you think your fans would be very surprised to learn, like a core part of who you are that they don't know?
So what you just mentioned, like super fans, how does that feel? I'm a lifelong Howard Stern fan. And so this was maybe not an insight that I had early on, but it was obvious to me that in order for this to work, for the fans to feel like they know you beyond just what you say on the microphone, you have to be open and vulnerable. So on Howard's show, Jason and Ronnie and all the guys, you know them. I feel like I know them. I know the listeners do too. And so I say all that to say that I'm pretty open and honest on the show. I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe Josh could answer this. I don't think that there's anything about me that I think would shock
Well, not shocked. Well, how about this? Okay, you want to know a funny...
Maybe this. Duncan, you can weigh in here. Am I nicer in real life?
Hold on. Duncan is walking over to the microphone. My microphone is falling.
That wasn't a dramatic pause. I was away from a mic.
Tell people how nice I am.
Yeah, Mike's a very nice guy. Yeah.
Nobody thinks you're not nice in the audience, though. Why do you think that's your rap?
I think people think that you're out of touch. I don't think they think that
Really?
you're not nice.
See, this
What's
is why I
what?
don't... Wait,
But wait a minute, why
go
is
on,
that?
Go on.
The comments on animal spirits are often there's stuff about being out of touch with takes and stuff. It's not. I don't see people being I think Mike's a mean.
But what do they
person
think
or a
you're
bad
out of
person.
touch by?
So here, I want to get your
Everything.
take on this. So...
Everything.
Everything.
There's always something.
So I've been talking about this and thinking about this. I grew up fine financially.
Yes.
Right? My parents took care of me.
Yeah.
I was never able to buy $100 sneakers, but I always had sneakers, right?
Right.
I never went on an airplane to Aruba. We took car trips to Boston and DC. That's what we could afford.
Middle class.
I was fine.
Yep.
But I had some nice things. I went to sleepaway camp, so I was not deprived. But I did not grow up with
Wealthy.
luxury.
Yeah.
I didn't have a new car when I was a teenager. Fine, but certainly was not familiar with money. And in 2010, when I was 25 years old, I made $400 for the year. Right? I worked since I was...
I don't think you have to file taxes at that
from
level.
From 15...
He's proud of those units.
No, proud of those units. From 15 until 24, I was working blue-collar jobs for that whole 9-year period because I had to. Okay. So now I am in a different place economically, and it is an interesting...
He's balling out of control.
It is,
Obviously.
it is an interesting transition to make from having no money, never thinking that I would make any money, and when I had a little bit of money, I genuinely felt rich.
Mm-hmm.
When I first made $100,000, I felt rich.
Yeah.
I actually felt that way. And your relationship with money changes obviously over time because I remember distinctly feeling, in fact, Josh and I had this conversation one time. If this is all the money I ever made, I'd feel great. Oh my God, I never thought I would make this much money. And this was a while ago. Now, obviously, if I went back in time, I'd jump out the window because your relationship with money, the goalpost move and all that sort of stuff. So it is interesting to hear the audience, or at least according to Duncan, say that I'm out of touch because
it's mainly inflation. Honestly, that's the main.
Oh, you
thing
mean
people
because like
complain
the
about.
people? I mean, listen, we all understand that we're human beings. We go fill up our cars.
What's fun
and it
is
feels-
watching though. What's fun for the audience is watching Michael grow increasingly out of touch as time goes on.
Oh, I see.
Just wait.
So
Just wait till I get the Porsche. Just
I
wait.
mean,
So
yeah.
they started with him at a certain place, and he's almost in his Elvis in a jumpsuit phase.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, my
Well, I'll tell you what.
God.
I
Like a
heard one of my
rhinestone.
favorite. So I got to tell you one of my favorite things. The reason why I asked this question is that one of my favorite questions that I heard someone ask of Rachel Maddow, which I really was shocking. You know, what is a long-held belief that you have that would surprise people?
Mm.
It was an excellent question. Okay.
What was it?
The answer was she stopped and she said, I think that people would be shocked to learn that I thought Bill Clinton should have resigned after the Monica Lewinsky.
That's her.
That was her major thing. She goes, I was not happy about that. I thought that he made a big mistake. I thought the party should have actually forced him out and that would have secured Al Gore's ascension to become the president. And that is a problem that actually fueled the right. And even though the left thought it won, in quotation marks, they lost it long term. And I just thought it was interesting because it's like, she's like, look, I always thought that. I thought that I wasn't asked to say that on the air.
What if there would have been no Hillary candidacy?
Yeah, it's just like it's an interesting thing to consider. Yeah. So I ask you that, like, what is a long-held belief of yours that you think that might be surprising to our listeners?
That's a really good question. If I had prepared for it.
That's why I don't give questions in advance, dude.
So a long-held belief of mine that would not be unpopular, would be surprising. Huh. Give me like 30 seconds on that.
Take 30 seconds.
Yeah. Let's hear Michael's.
That's a good one.
That's so tough.
I'll give you mine. How about that? I'll start with mine.
I believe in nothing, Lebowski, so I don't know.
He doesn't have any beliefs.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I actually believe is that I'm a person, my show is called Jill on Money, right?
Yeah.
I talk about money all the time. I am completely bored about conversations about money. Like not
You mean in your personal life?
In life
Your
in
own
general. Like
conversations.
I am not interested in money very much. I am very much interested in the emotions behind it. I'm very much interested in the dynamics behind what happens to us when we have it and we don't. Listen, I like money. I grew up like an upper class kid. I had anything I wanted, but I not like when my mother says to me, oh, I spoke to so-and-so and, his son, he just bought the biggest house he made. I heard he is worth $20 million.
You're like, I don't give a shit.
Could not care less. And so I talk about money all the time because I love stories about people. I fell in love with you guys, not because you're rich money managers and I wish you were richer for your sakes, but because I think like you are Hamish men who have a way of talking about money that demystifies it. Duncan needs a translation. Quick, what does Hamish mean?
Honestly, I don't know.
Hamish means like a good guy, a good boy, a mensch,
okay.
a menschula. Like good.
Oh, so I know mine. I think financial literacy is a waste of time.
Oh, yes.
I think put people in the real economy and let them learn. I don't think you could teach kids anything that's worth anything.
I love that one.
They don't listen. It's not going to – until people have to support themselves, they ain't going to learn anything. It's at the moment when people are forced to learn and like it's life or death and it's pay the rent or not be able to pay the rent. That's when you have their attention.
Can I add to that? I agree.
They're doing stock market games in elementary school.
Wait, I agree.
It's a fucking joke.
I agree, but I do totally agree that kids don't learn. I was the worst student ever. So kids, not that I'm every student, but kids don't learn in school. They learn what they want to learn. And I don't know that financial literacy would change everybody's outcome. However, there is so much bullshit that they do teach. Home economics, where you're sewing a stuffed bear. Get rid of that.
Do they still have that?
I don't know.
That's over.
Get rid of that. Get rid of that bullshit. Why not teach personal finance?
Mike, they don't do that anymore.
All right, fine.
It's coding in high school now.
Why not teach personal finance?
Well, here's the thing. This is what I would say. Data, I read these reams of data. They don't have better outcomes, but we do want them familiar with the term. So I think you can teach as math. You should teach what compounding interest is.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's part of math.
I agree, and I'm not against teaching personal finance. I'm saying financial literacy specifically.
Yeah.
There's academic studies showing the more an investor thinks they're educated, the worse their results are.
Exactly.
Because it leads to overconfidence bias or they end up doing more things in their accounts. I'm saying, yes, teach personal finance. Stop calling it financial literacy. You could be as literate as you want. until you are a functioning adult with bills to pay and a job to show up at, none of that stuff is really gonna hit home. So I love the idea that we want to expose kids to
Technical
these
analysis.
concepts. The problem is it's not going to sink in.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it's time well spent. I think when you want to really educate people is when they're 22, 23. And this whole thing like, oh, you can't even teach a kid how to use a checkbook. Don't worry about that. The kids are Venmoing at 10 years old from their mother's account. Don't worry about checkbooks anymore. Like all of those concepts to me are a huge waste of time.
I just feel like I'm very into math because I'm a math nerd girl. And I just think that we need to teach math and just incorporate these concepts into your math classes. That's it. All right, Michael, you're not off the hook. You can't just dovetail on big boys, super Roberto Salazar, the runner extraordinaire.
So what is the question?
The question is,
I need more time to think.
Okay.
The question is what?
The question is really,
are we going to let him get away with these glasses the entire time?
I can't. I mean, I'm trying really hard. The question is, what is a very closely held belief that you hold that might surprise listeners?
Okay. I really strongly believe that money matters less than people think in terms of satisfying their need for it. People always want more money. I do too. But I think that if you are a person who is unhappy, and you just think that if you had enough money to get a second home or to have a nicer car or to have more vacations, I'm like positive that's not the answer.
Yeah.
And I know that some people don't like to hear that, but I'm positive that's not the answer to happiness.
What would
It's something else. There's a hole that you're looking to fill, and it's not money.
Exactly right. That's why you should start drinking heavily and see if it fills
Well,
up that way.
there
I'm
we
just
agree.
kidding. But
if you have that hole, it's better to have more money, though.
well, this is my mother's.
Even if it doesn't fill it.
My mother's saying is, rich or poor, it's nice to have money. Because
course.
obviously, if something bad is happening, it's better to have more money. But
I would say the caveat to what I would just say is like there's a baseline. Listen, if you're poor, that message does not apply.
yeah, and if
I'm
you're
talking
and if-
about the person that's making 140,000 that thinks that making 300 would make them happy.
But I'll tell you what is fascinating. After talking to people all the time and people that come in onto my show and it's like, I make $300,000. I live in suburban New York City and I feel poor. And I'm like, and I have to explain to the listeners, they are poor. Here.
Contextually.
Here. Like, here's what I need to tell you. Someone making $300,000 living
But your listener from elsewhere is going to say, well, why do they live there?
And so I would put that back to those people, which
Where
is,
should they live?
are you sure you're doing what you want to do? Because what you've done is you've put yourself in a place where you're comparing up, right? Like, it would be great to be like, I make $300,000. I'm the richest person on my block. And you look down, you're like, I'm lucky. But why is it that we've put ourselves in a place where, we're strivers. We want to achieve. We want to go in nice neighborhoods where there's good schools. I get all of that. I feel like we put ourselves in these cages. And then we're fighting, we're clawing our way to get out of this cage. And you put yourself there.
Because you're in a lifestyle and you're surrounded by other people. None of this is absolute. It's not, I want to make more than $300,000 because it's going to make me happy. It's, I want to make more than $300,000 because my kids are going to school and their friends' parents are making $500 and we can't keep up. So this concept of more money won't make you happy, bullshit. It definitely will.
No.
Because you will compete. Yes, of course it will. It won't make you ultimately happy, but it will make you happier because you will have less pressure relative to the people that are in your comps.
I think
and we
that
all
that's-
have comps, and we should stop pretending that we don't.
Well, I used to say to my sister and brother-in-law, they would talk about things, and I said, "You really need some poorer friends. It would really do you. It
that
would
would
do
help.
you
I
well.
totally agree
it
with
really
that.
would be like, you know
Nothing-
what? It will level your mind in a way that is so different.
But here's the problem. All the influencers say the opposite. Make friends with wealthy people and see how they save, see how they
That's
spend.
baloney. Mostly they're lucky.
Or what about the people that say, Scott Galloway told us this 2 days ago, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if that's true, then make friends with poorer people can't also be true.
I think that's completely baloney, and I think that's a baloney stat. So I'll just call that out.
Well,
because
I don't think anyone says the stat, but I
you
get
know what I'm
you
saying?
mean.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that you put yourself in a place where you are constantly feeling like you are less than.
Yeah, it sucks.
Nothing good is going to happen.
It sucks. I agree.
And so I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying either figure out how to get happy with where you are and articulate that to your kids. You know, it's like.
But that's not practical.
Well,
because that's not a choice. That's not a choice.
That's not gonna work.
No, it's not a choice. That's like telling somebody.
It is a choice.
No, it's not. It's like maybe this is a bad analogy, but you can't tell somebody who's depressed to be happy.
No, I agree with that.
So
that I agree with.
So nothing is more relative than money, and you can't not compare
yourself. Can I ask you a question?
You can't not compare yourself.
Do you have friends that have moved? Do you have friends that have moved their families to Parkland or
what is it? Nice neighborhoods
or Boca or somewhere from New?
No.
Leave New York, but go somewhere where there are a lot of New Yorkers. Do you have any friends that have done that?
No.
Okay, so I have 3 families where we're very friendly with them. They were making an okay living here.
Yep.
And just as I described, it was never enough.
Yes.
No matter how hard they worked, switch jobs, take a job that has free healthcare, whatever. It just was never going to be enough for here. Those people, pre-pandemic and during pandemic, moved to Florida. It's not that it's so much cheaper to live there now. Actually, we're approaching parity. But the comps are easier. And I see these people, and they are radiating happiness.
Amazing.
They are healthy, tan. They don't have a 5-month period where you can't walk out the front door. They moved that. So where I disagree with you, Michael, is they moved themselves somewhere that they could be happy.
Right. It's not like I'm saying, oh, you got to move from Scarsdale to the Bronx, and therefore you will be happy. But I do think that if you, so fancy suburb, you can change certain things that will, I think, impact you. All right,
last thing. I'm sorry.
I have a second to last
thing. If you're making $500,000, but somebody next to you is making $700,000, and you can't quite do what they're doing, then fucking deal with it.
Well, that's the other thing. Get real with it.
Deal with it by being unhappy until you fix it.
I'm sorry. I have no sympathy for people in that situation.
I'll tell you, one of my favorite calls, I put it in the book, was a guy who is, he and his wife made $350,000. They lived on the Upper West Side. They sent their 3 kids to Jewish day school. It was ridiculous. And by the way, $350,000, they got financial aid in New York City, just FYI. But they're struggling. And he goes, well, my kids are going to school with kids that are going to fancy camps and they're going on fancy trips. And, I'm like, well, you put them in that school.
That's right.
Go put them in some Jewish day school somewhere else.
So I agree. So I totally agree with that. If you're in such an unhappy place, then you're in the wrong place.
Yes.
So, and sometimes the answer is not more money. To Michael's point, if the thing that's making you unhappy specifically has nothing to do with money, you're just an unhappy person, that's different. If the thing that's making you unhappy is that you're killing yourself and there's just never enough money, that might not have to do with anything other than just I need more money. And if you can't make more where you are, a change of atmosphere is not the worst prescription.
I agree.
Duncan, do you want to put this picture up for me as a trivia question? You're going to like this, guys.
Okay.
Look at that funny old picture. Look at that.
Ooh.
You know who that is?
Is that your dad?
That's my dad.
No way. What year is that?
That is your trivia question. So my father, this is my dad on the floor of the American Stock Exchange.
82.
Oh my God, I was going to say that.
How did you know that?
I was going to say 82.
Were you?
Were you both?
I swear to God.
Was it right?
It was 1982. I'm not even kidding you. This is 1982. So
he looks like Al Franken. In a good way, at least in profile.
By the way, he used to be told that he looked like Paul Newman. And
what was he trading?
Do you know why I know it was that year?
How do you know that?
Okay.
That's really interesting. Wait a second. He was trading Reebok options.
Oh, wow.
That he was the frontline specialist for Reebok
I know by the haircut.
Really?
That's the 1982 haircut because the men were not wearing their hair long after 1979.
And he never did.
Right. So, but like that was like the puffy on the sides.
Love you.
I love you. Bye. But that's fascinating that you knew that.
That's totally the haircut. That's 82.
All right, 1982. It was the front cover of the American Stock Exchange annual report of 1982.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was your trivia question.
Oh, very
that's
cool.
It. We lost him. I hope he has a very hot client on the other end there.
Michael's calendar
is insane.
It's when you look at it, it looks like a rainbow of events, different colors. It's he's definitely one of the hardest working people I know.
Josh, you have fun today?
I had the best time. I had the best time ever. I told you this is the easy part.
What are you listening and watching right now? Give me a little bit of your favorite.
I just finished Shogun. It took me a while to get through because you can't multitask.
Yeah.
Because half of it's in Japanese.
Yes.
Absolutely loved it.
Oh, good.
I just started Fallout.
Oh, okay.
The first episode is one of the best first episodes of a television show, I would say, in television history.
Jackie and I just started, and now like 6 episodes in to Tokyo Vice first season.
It's a
Love
big
it.
Michael and Duncan show.
Love that
And John.
show.
Yeah.
Can I be self-exposing for like really what my favorite thing that I'm doing right now is I'm listening to 48 hours of Barbara Streisand reading her own memoir.
No.
I am.
Why does it take that long?
Do you know who Barbara Streisand is, everybody here? Okay, good. Okay. It's a 1,000-page memoir. 1,000 pages.
Okay.
And my friend Barbara Russo said to me, do not read it, listen to it. She reads her own book.
Oh my God.
And she intersperses some old recordings in it. So now I am actually telling you that I'm not, in fact, a gay woman. I'm a gay man.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I've told you.
Look what happened.
I've told you. But it is, but
I like the concept of reading the person tell their story in their own words.
But what's wild is she knew so many people. It's insane. It's like, she reads a letter that like F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote her after he saw her in a club. She reads a note like from Marlon Brando, who's like Frank Sinatra, like, if you ever need anything, kid, let me know, Francis. Like, it's
funny.
so wild to me. Anyway, I'm a huge super fan of Babs, and And thank God I have to drive to the East End every week because otherwise I don't know how we'd finish
I was going to say that's how you'll fill those 48 hours.
Exactly right.
All right.
Josh?
Yes.
Michael? Oh, wait, he's not
Michael's
here.
gone.
Nicole, would you like to answer for Michael? Nicole, get over here.
Gosh.
Here's Nicole.
Okay.
Nicole, how do I pronounce your last name? I don't know it.
It's not that hard. Samrakova.
Of course, that's not that hard at all. Samrakova. How are you doing?
Harder to spell than
I'm
say.
good. Hello, Jill on Money.
Have you been on the camera for
This
any
is
of
my
these shows?
first time in this seat. Yes.
Ever?
Ever.
How did you never do this?
What? Put Nicole on the mic?
Yeah.
Nicole, what do you think of interest rates?
Oh my gosh.
Who
They're
cares?
great. Who cares?
cares?
Our subject matter is
I'm Gen Z. I shouldn't care.
is a little bit nerdier.
She could be our Gen Z, like, actual hope is that we get her interested.
Do you know?
That's
do you,
right.
Do you know that she's a fan favorite? Like the audience absolutely loves
Duh,
Nicole.
of course. Of course.
So.
Look at her.
What's there not to love?
I mean, really.
Okay.
Nicole, say goodbye on behalf of Michael.
On behalf of Michael Batnick, we are out.
Josh, thank you so much. Hey, everyone, thanks for listening. If you have a question, ask Jill at jillonmoney.com and love us, set comments, but only good ones. I have very thin skin, so do not leave bad comments, please. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.